Guys, let's give a big old rest in peace birthday shout out to the one and only creator of Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry. He was born on stardate August 19th, 1921, Spock. And his legacy is amazing. You know, what he did through Star Trek pretty much changed the world. I think we can all agree on that, you know? It's like for someone to have the type of imagination that he did to create that vast universe with all of those colorful personalities and characters, I don't think we'll see the likes of that anytime soon. You know, it's definitely one of the all-time greats. And definitely when I think about, you know, the legacy of Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek and stuff, I have to wonder what the fuck happened? You know what I'm saying? Like looking at the current condition of Star Trek right now, if Gene Roddenberry were around, he probably dropped dead. You know what I mean? It's just what they've done with it is just insane, you know? And listen, guys, I have a pretty open mind when it comes to science fiction and stuff like that. I love it. You know, I love to let my imagination run free. I want to love Star Trek. I tried to watch that trash Star Trek Discovery and the even more trash Star Trek Picard. You know, I tried to do that stuff. I tried to hang in there. I really did. But it was just too painful. You know what I mean? And I can't help but think that in some ways, the philosophical view of Gene Roddenberry has been lost on the creators. But you know, not just the creators, it looks like the stars as well. The more you hear the stars of Star Trek speak, the more you realize not only are they not their characters, because I have a lot of, you know, when I do stories like this, people always come in the comment section and say, well, we have to stop thinking of them as those characters. Okay, definitely not. But just as human beings, they were just so far detached. You would think that when you say the words and the dialogue and stuff, something would sink in. But I think a lot of the message of Star Trek was lost on a lot of these actors and actresses that played in Star Trek, you know? Honestly, these days, the only one that I really, really listen to that, you know, seems pretty cool to me is William Shatner. You know what I mean? But I don't know, guys, you know, but I want to talk about a few of them here, guys. So let's get into this. This is the gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. And I saw this story a couple of days ago, and it's not going to get past me, okay? So I'm going to talk about this, all right? You got to make time. When you see stupid, you have to make time to say, hey, that's pretty stupid. You know what I mean? There's got to be pushback. You just can't let the ignorance run free in the world, okay? So in this particular story, we have one Mr. Tim Russ. All right, you might remember Tim Russ. He starred in Voyager when we weren't checking out 7 of 9. He was that melanated Vulcan and hung out in the background trying to do his best Leonard Nimoy impersonation. You know what I mean? He got away with it because it was a long time ago. It was like long before all of this shit that we see going on now, you know, in pop culture and everything. But one of the reasons why I had a hard time getting into Voyager, his character just never rubbed me the right way. You know what I mean? I just didn't accept that. You know what I mean? I'm all for diversity and stuff like that. And he had the right to play that role and everything. But I don't know, the Black Vulcan thing just wasn't working for me. You know, it just wasn't. You know, I just didn't understand it. It is what it is. You know, it's like I saw the Klingons, with Worf and everything. They just seem more naturally black to me, you know what I mean? But when it came to Tuvok, it just seemed like a stretch. It just seemed like he was there to be that black Vulcan, you know, because one of the things that made Spock, you know, stand out so much wasn't the fact that he was a Vulcan. It was that he was a half human, half Vulcan, you know, so it made his struggles and his growth a lot more significant watching his story. Tuvok was just some black Vulcan in the background that I didn't really understand. Like, since I didn't watch it too much, maybe you guys in the comment section, if you did watch it, you can tell me if he had any type of significant story arc throughout Voyager. I was missing it if there was. I only watched it for a certain amount of time. I did like 7 of 9. I liked Janeway. I liked B'Elanna Torres, I think it was. Wasn't she like half Romulan or half Klingon or something like that? Like, that was interesting to me. But like I said, just to say, here's your Vulcan and he's black, go, you know, I just wasn't feeling that. You know what I mean? But he did decent, you know, whatever, you know. I don't think any Vulcan would have really done anything for me. Like I said, what made Spock special was his half human, half Vulcan dynamic, you know. But anyway, Tim Ross has been on Twitter, where else, and he's been mouthing off about how he feels about what went on recently in Afghanistan, and for some reason he decided to take an unprovoked shot at religious people. And let me read to you what this fool said, right? He wrote on Twitter as if anybody was asking him. I don't even think this dude has a blue check mark. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But it says here, the Taliban are as fanatical about their beliefs and culture as the millions of people right here in the US who believe in religion, conspiracy theorists, and alternate reality. Seriously? Did this jackass just compare religious people in the US to the Taliban, to some nuts over there, some religious fanatics? Really? That's what he did. Now listen, guys. Within every institution, you're going to find some psychos. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to act like, within religious institutions, you're not going to find your extremists and, cultists and things like that. Of course, you're going to see that, people who twist up a religion to their own personal demented philosophy. It happens. But I'm just saying, for you to just compare a terrorist group to all religious people, what did he say? The millions of people who are religious in America. It's wrong. You know what I mean? Not to mention a lot of those were probably fans of Star Trek. It's like, why would you go out of your way to say stuff like that? Hollywood is going crazy, bro. It's like the more they speak, the more like out of touch they seem. You know what I mean? But for some reason, he decided he was going to do that. Now, that's not the first time he took shots at Christianity, and religion. This guy's got some type of hang up. Maybe something happened to him in the past. I don't know. But for him to do that, he would have to overlook all of the philanthropic things that religious people do. Religious organizations such as feeding the hungry, building homes, relief efforts, things like that. You're going to overlook that. And you're going to talk about how they're just as fanatical, and unhinged as a terrorist group. You would do that, Tim Russ, melanated Vulcan that you are. Soul Vulcan number 1. It's ridiculous. But once again, being detached from the original vision of Gene Roddenberry, which was an optimistic view of humanity. This is about as optimistic as you can get, as cynical as you can get to say something like that. You know what I mean? And, he's not the only one, guys. Recently, I saw you had George Takei, of all people, Mr. Oh my, Mr. Sulu. He was making remarks also about what? Of course, about the people who don't want to get the jab. Let's put it this way. And look, let's see what George Takei had to say, okay? This is staying in the Star Trek theme now. George Takei says, and he's got a blue check mark, it says here, I don't know, maybe the other guy does too, but it says, George Takei, the willfully unvaccinated who wind up in hospitals from COVID should not receive priority medical care over other very sick or injured people who are as much in urgent need of medical care. So in other words, he's basically saying, let them die. All right, people who are willfully unvaccinated, just completely ignoring the many reasons why somebody might be unvaccinated. I mean, dog, that's not even how this works. It's like doctors save lives. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think that, let's take Dr. McCoy, for example. If Dr. McCoy came down and he saw what was going on here, to hear Sulu tell it, let him die, Dr. McCoy would say something along the lines of, damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not an assassin. You know what I mean? But this is what we have going on with George Takei. He feels safe to say something like this. Once again, many of the so-called unvaccinated could be, probably are Star Trek fans, such as myself. You know what I mean? But of course, like I said before, nobody talks about the natural immune thing. You know what I mean? But that would be me. So that's one of my reasons for not wanting to do it, among others. But, people like that, there's no middle ground. There's no in between. There's no attempt to understand anything. Once again, going against the ideals, the very foundation of Star Trek. But there you have it. You got Tim Russ, you got George Takei. Remember, for example, Marina Sirtis. You remember when, Texas got walloped with that snowstorm and they said they're getting what they deserve? Like, what's wrong with these people? And she's supposed to be an empath on the show, right? You think she would have learned something about empathy. Okay, but let me share something with you also, because this is something else that George Takei said too. All right, George Takei says, if you're a Star Trek fan, but you refuse to get vaccinated, then you're not living up to the ideals of Star Trek. What's that you say, Sulu? He said, if you're a Star Trek fan, but you refuse to get vaccinated, then you're not living up to the ideals of Star Trek. Okay, well, let me share something with you guys, okay? Because we're talking about the ideals of Star Trek on the 100th birthday of Gene Roddenberry. Now, one of the deepest things that I think Star Trek introduced into the world, you know, through the original series and subsequent series after that, was a little concept called the Prime Directive. How many Star Trek fans out there remember the Prime Directive? Okay, let me reintroduce you to the Prime Directive, okay? This is a little bit of what the Prime Directive stands for, okay? Reading off Wikipedia now, okay? It says, the Prime Directive prohibits Starfleet personnel and spacecraft from interfering in the normal development of any society and mandates that any Starfleet vessel or crew member is expendable to prevent violation of this rule. And as the right of each sentient species to live in accordance, in accordance with its normal cultural evolution. Oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Okay, as the right of each sentient species to live in accordance with its normal cultural evolution is considered sacred, no Starfleet personnel may interfere with the normal and healthy development of alien life and culture. Such interference includes introducing superior knowledge, strength, or technology to a world whose society is incapable of handling such advantages wisely. Starfleet personnel may not violate this Prime Directive even to save their lives, okay, and or their ship, unless they're acting to right an earlier violation or an accidental contamination of said culture. This directive takes precedence over any and all other considerations and carries with it the highest moral obligation. Okay? That is at the heart of Star Trek. George Takei, Sulu, Mr. Oh My. I tell you, man, you have been like just completely out of touch ever since we found out that you were playing like hide the salami or hide the sausage or whatever you've been doing all these years. You know what I mean? But that's your business, pal. But I'm just saying, ever since you came out with this new personality and new attitude and stuff, you've been so judgmental on social media to say who should be a Star Trek fan depending on their political leanings and all that stuff. But I would submit to you, George Takei, and to you, the viewer, that these people are so far removed from what Star Trek stood for, so far removed from the fandom that we can't even take them seriously, you know, with their judgmental nature and everything like that. You know, you just can't do it. So, listen, guys. All right, I don't want the video to go too long. I just wanted to point this out because these people, man, it's like you hear more and more, you know, coming out of Hollywood and these actors and, you know, turning on their fandoms and being judgmental and just being divisive. That's like the thing of the day now, you know? That's how it is now. It's like everything is about being divisive. You know, that's the new phenomenon. But, you know, we got to push back against this, guys, because we've been in this fandom long enough. We've been fans. We know the material. You know, we know what the ideals of these things are when they get in them and try to reinterpret them. That's the reason why you got to make noise when you see it happening. All right, guys. So I wanted to just speak my piece on that because, like I said, I just see a very strange, you know, just thing that's going on here, you know, where this seems to be what they do now. You know, they just use what they starred in their platform to bash a certain, you know, number of their own fandom. And I think that's foul. But anyway, guys, you can tell me how you feel about this. You can get in the comment section. You can like, you can share, you can subscribe. Thank you very much. And as always, you can catch me on Twitter. If not, I'll see you on the next one. This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. Now I'm going to find out who's out there making all that noise distracting me. All right, guys, rock on.